Welcome to the Academic Advising Seminars for Ferris State University. Today, Sheila McEnron and I'm Deb Cox, will be presenting a mentoring advising program. We're very excited about this because this is actually going to be a pilot program for health professions for next year. So you are the inaugural group to see what we have planned for matching mentors, experienced advisors with maybe new advisors to the university, or maybe those that have not advised yet. And we hope that this concept catches on and that other colleges will see the merit of bringing together the experienced with the novice individuals. There is a packet of material for those who may be on Adobe Connect or who are hearing this as a recording. The materials will be online for you to get additionally. If you are listening right now or going to be jumping in and participating, go to Ferris's website, to the advising guide, to faculty, and then to professional development, and there are attachments under the mentoring workshop, and the PowerPoint will be available that way also. One thing to start off with is sometimes people think advising is a disconnect for teaching. And really, our National Organization for Academic Advising, the abbreviation is called NACADA, they really passionately believe that advising is teaching. It's part of the component that's a natural transition from the classroom to helping people learn about the major, what they might want to do in the future, additional degrees that could complement the student. And really, when you think about it, the faculty in a program have had this wonderful experience with their degree in industry and now teaching. So it's really a natural transition to say advising is teaching and a very important component of any faculty member. Sheila's put together this PowerPoint, and you can see some great examples about what teaching really is all about, is that advising component and kind of paying it forward for those that are coming into the new work life. We want to start out with just a little icebreaker, and you can stay right where you're at, but what I'd like you to do is maybe reflect on your advising experience when you were a student, and then maybe for those of you who have been advising, what you took away, taken with you with the advising that you're now doing. So let's give you maybe a minute to think about that, and then we'll come back together and we'll all share. Alrighty, Austin?
For me, it was, what I remember is just making sure I was on the right track. If I had any questions, what classes I needed to take, so on and so forth. But making sure I was, able to graduate when I wanted to graduate.
So we would kind of call that prescriptive advising, is that it was the check sheet, what do I take, talk to my advisor, and then follow those directions.
Right.
Okay. Susan?
I did my undergrad at Michigan State, where you can feel like a number, and I remember getting forms signed by advisors, but that's the sum total of my memory of it. I also remember that it was $32.50 per credit hour, and I needed 90 credits to get my undergraduate degree, and I graduated with exactly 90 credits because I didn't have another $32.50. So I really had my own stuff plotted out for that reason. So, but I don't ever remember having interactive advising. I have no recollection of that. I think it was just telling somebody what classes I planned to take and getting a signature.
Okay. How about you, Margaret? What do you recall?
Oh boy, it's been a long time. But it was mainly, you just kind of show up and go over the check sheet, and that was pretty much it. But I do remember thinking as a student that I wished that my advisor would ask a lot more questions, and I was too timid to ask the questions or approach him, so I just kind of went along with his check sheet.
Okay. I remember mine, and I was in pre-science going into dental hygiene, and my advisor was in communication. And so I really had to be on my toes with what the dental hygiene program needed in order to successfully enter the program and take courses that I needed. How about you?
I agree with Margaret that sometimes it'd be nice, I thought it would have been nice if my advisor had just said to me, how are you doing? Instead of just, okay, looks like you're on the right track, sign off, and I was out again. Just once I kind of wanted somebody to say, well, how is everything else? You know, and I never really had that. And it was hard because I was married, I was, you know, trying to hold down 2 jobs, et cetera, felt very overwhelmed. And not that I maybe would have told them all that, but it would have just been nice to hear, how are you?
Very good. All righty, transition then. Austin, have you done any academic advising yet?
Last week I signed a graduation form. That's it.
So it was prescriptive.
Yep.
It was signing what, tell me where I need to sign, and so.
Austin
But-
just started in January, for those that didn't hear that.
Yes,
So.
yep, he's brand new. So, how about you, Susan? Because you're in a professional advisor role.
Yes, I have between 75 and 175 advisees in any given semester. And the one thing that I would say is I want them to feel heard. Going off what Sheila said, nobody ever asked. I'm not sure anybody ever cared. And I just want them to feel heard, no matter what it is they need to tell me. So my first question is, how are things going?
Mm-hmm.
Not what classes do you want to take for fall semester? Just
I would have
how are
loved
things-
you.
Yeah.
How are things going? So,
Mhm.
yeah.
How I approach advising is much like you do also, Susan. I'm looking at the person and trying to develop a rapport and then find out what brought them here today and then go along with the options and spend the time with not maybe just what they're thinking about, but where do they want to be at the end. So there could be maybe many different routes to go that way.
My focus has changed. I used to do a lot of pre's. I now have just the students that are in my professional sequence. So I have them in class all the time. I probably know more than I ever really want to know about most of them, but it does help me though, because when they come in, I've been able to see, you've been acting a little down lately in lab, or you've been, you know, slipping a little bit. What's going on here? You know, so I have that perspective that maybe before I didn't have.
Sure. How about you, Margaret? What's changed from when you were advised to now being in more of an advising role?
Well, I don't do a lot of advising per se
Mhm.
in my current role, but I was an advisor in a previous position. And at the community college level, I did a lot of prescriptive advising.
Okay.
We had certain students would take these tests that they would figure out which classes they belonged into, and so I would do a lot of that. But then as a counselor, many times the conversation would just kind of go toward a more personal and finding it was kind of switching to counseling. So I had kind of both, but I think it's because of my role as an advisor, but as a personal counselor.
Okay.
Had both sides.
So Margaret has a counseling degree, and so that transition came a little more natural to you to get to know the person a little bit better versus the prescriptive based on your academic training. Great. All righty. So moving right along, this program again is matching veteran advisors with new advisors, and this is going to be a program that Health Professions is going to support in 2014-2015. So we're looking for Tammy Wolverton to help us guide those two groups together. Moving on to our next slide then, here is some of the ideas that we think not only for Health Professions but for other colleges is once you've identified the mentors and the mentees is foster an opportunity for people to get to know each other. So some of the ideas we've had is that the colleges the college has said they would host a lunch, or maybe just take the two of you go out to lunch, the mentor and the mentee, and to set up regular meetings. So bi-weekly is an option, but get that ball rolling, the mentor at least from the beginning. Any other ideas from folks about how to get the ball rolling with a mentor? Mentee?
I would just say that have the mentors be very vigilant about emails, about phone calls, just to try to be very available to the new advisors, because they may have questions in the moment.
And
that when you see their number pop up, they come first. That kind of thing.
And that's something we see a lot in our student peer mentoring program, is that those are the mentees want the mentors to be more readily accessible to them. And the mentors are saying, well, I'm kind of busy too. So we've had to really sit down and have a couple meetings and said, you know, you were the mentee, now you're the mentor, and this is you're just playing it forward. And all of a sudden that went, oh yeah, I was. I remember how hard that was. For some reason, just saying that one little statement clicked. And I don't know if that would help with us at this level, but I'm thinking that's a good point to make with them. A lot of people in our college, and Tammy and I talked about this, if we're going to do this program, there's too many people that close their doors. I mean, they open them during office hours, but the other hours they close the door. And it doesn't look very welcoming, or that people feel like they can't really knock.
We actually have an open door policy in
Yes.
our department for the advisors, and
Yes.
it works.
Yes.
So
And that's something we've
I
talked
think
about.
that's something Tammy could, ask for people to do.
Yes, definitely. So that is one thing that we had talked about with the faculty schedules, being in labs. We're very lab heavy in our building. How would that person, if there's, oh no, I have a question right now. Well, we also have a very good sense of collegiality in our building though. So if I couldn't find my mentor, I know that I could probably ask somebody else and they'd be very happy to help. And that was part of it, is maybe one-on-one, yes, but really anybody that says they're going to be a mentor should be willing to help anyone.
it's true. It's a good point.
The other thing we could do, to my knowledge, there's 7 professional mentors on campus. I think that's the number. There's Natalia.
The professional advisors.
That's what, I'm sorry.
That's
what I
okay.
meant. Professional advisors. We could be backup for those, where we could be go-to people and just have a list of the professional advisors who, we don't know everything, but we know a lot, and we know who knows. So that might be a plan too, just to have us as a safety net. Sure. When a new advisor has a question.
Susan, you bring up a really great point, because there's a lot of informal academic advising mentoring that's been going on for years.
True.
And so people who are really good and been advising for a long time really have, here's what I use, here's how we do it. This puts a little bit more formality and some processes, and we're saying that's a 7-appointment mentoring relationship, just to get the facts down and the information as a schedule and a construct.
We also have a professional advisor meeting every month. That I think it would be good to have new advisors come to that on a one-time basis and just get the materials, hear how we roll, and just allow them to be guest participants at that.
What I might ask everybody, I don't mean to cut you off there, Sheila, is we have an evaluation in the back of the packet. If you could write down any suggestions or ideas to make this program better, or things that you think could go forward, that would be wonderful, because I'm not sure I'm going to recall the suggestions. I know we have the recording, but that would be an awesome suggestion that would really be very helpful. Sheila, did you?
Now, one more point just to, with this, is that we like that title, Master Advisor. And the reason is, in our college, for instance, in health I almost said allied health professions, we have new faculty awards and staff awards, and one of them is for mentoring and advising. But that Master Advisor can be used for somebody's promotion, for their merit, for possibly tenure, if they're really a great advisor already by year 5, or have a lot of advising experience. So sometimes just that title it makes you feel a little pat on the back, or stand a little taller than being a regular advisor. So that might be a good point too.
Great. All righty, we'll move on to our next slide. Margaret, did you have anything to add?
I was just going to mention, with both the peer mentor program and the professional mentor program in the College of Pharmacy, I have found that I've had to add more requirements for each program. And for instance, we just put a framework together and let the students meet with each other at as needed. And now, because the students may feel intimidated by contacting their mentor, we've made it a requirement that mentors must contact students in a certain number of times a semester. And I've done that with the professional mentors as well, because the students are in their third year and they're reaching out to these professionals who they know are really busy. So we've said the same thing. Like, the mentor needs to contact their students.
So the mentor really needs to reach out and be consistent in that reaching out. Great, thank you.
Well, we spoke briefly about this pilot program that we're doing in the College of Health Professions, and it's not totally fleshed out yet, but I'll give you kind of in the nutshell what we're going to be doing. And I have worked very hard as an advisor creating a Blackboard shell for my students. I'm doing the same thing, and I know other colleges have done this already, but create an advising shell for the advisors in the building. So it's a go-to place, and you probably have noticed already, Austin, sometimes you're going all over trying to find all these different pieces of information. Wouldn't it be great to have it on one site? So we're working on that. The other piece of it, of course, would be matching those master advisors with the new advisors. And one of the reasons we selected the College of Health Professions is we have a large number of new faculty that have come on board that really need this program. So Tammy and I want to make that transition easier. I know when I started there, I basically had about 400 advisees step right in, and it was crazy. I didn't even know what to do with 400 advisees, and we had to see them all face to face, and that's really hard to do when you also have the teaching load. So we don't want to make that transition the same way. Now it does help now that we have our pre-advisors, so the faculty don't have all those pre's that they used to have, but we still have a fair number of students each. So we wanted to make that transition much easier. As you can imagine, also, if I gave you 400 advisees, you'd be like, you'd freeze, right? You'd paralyze, and you'd hate advising forever, right? So we don't want to make that transition so hard. So really the pilot program consists of creating a really good site for all the advisors to go to for information, creating this mentoring program to make the transition for new faculty members smoother as far as advising is concerned. And also we want to create more of a seamlessness, I guess, between our professional advisors that we currently have and the faculty. There's sometimes we're doubling up what we do, and we're seeing that there's some duplication and maybe some communication that's not there, like for graduation requirements. Do we still fill out the form, or do we just do it online? Do we just use my degree, or do we do this? So we want to kind of stop some of that redundancy that's happening to make that also that transition smoother for the new faculty. So the emphasis in my mind is about making it easier, less of repeating of the same information in different spots, and helping those new faculty members transition easily into an advising role. And so I guess stay tuned to see what's going to be happening in the future. Did you have anything you need to add to that? Okay.
So next we're going to do a listening activity. And for those that are in the counseling kind of areas, we like this kind of stuff because it's really about the interpersonal relationship. So what we have, we don't have two people, we don't have somebody from Margaret to work with, but Margaret, I will figure out some way to blend you. So Susan and Austin, do you want to work together? And in your packet, what you have is instructions on that talk about two scenarios. So one of you can choose scenario one of you can choose scenario two. Pair up with an individual and role play one of the scenarios below using the active listening skills advisor handout. Review the suggestions for working with students and advisees. And then there is a sheet here that talks about the guidelines for being a good listener, the listening activities. So moving on, we want to get to the meat of the program, and this is looking at what we affectionately call the program, which is structuring the mentoring relationship into 7 different appointments. So we're going to go on and start with appointment number 1. We're going to talk about the academic advising guide once we get to the home page here. And you know, it's all about navigating, right? And it's just like driving a car. You know how to navigate to work. You don't even have to think. But in the beginning, with any new website. So once you get to Ferris's homepage, going across the top tabs is under Ferris Resources is the Academic Advising Guide, the second bullet down. And we try to structure this advising guide so that it makes sense where content is. And we're going to begin first with looking at, on the left-hand side, the philosophical statement and responsibilities of advising. That's also in your packet if you want to follow along that way. It's very important, it was important for Ferris to come up with a foundation of information. So what is our purpose for academic advising? It's truly to provide support and in a partnership. And when you think about the mentoring relationship, it is a partnership. We look at advising with advisors and students, and we really want to be able to come up with different ways to help students complete their academic goals and their educational plans. So we have a vision, and we have a division of roles and responsibilities. And I really like that the university has a role and responsibility to provide seminars like this and other materials to make us more successful as academic advisors. And then advisors also then need to take advantage of the opportunities to learn more about academic advising and the tools that are available to help students and faculty. And then I really think there's a really equal part here with students. It's not just about the advisor being responsible for the student graduation requirements or where they want to go or what they want to do. The students play a big part, and that's what I really like to emphasize to advisors is make the students be responsible for coming prepared to the advising appointment. And even if they don't know exactly what they want to do with that degree when they graduate, they should start to look at that even their first semester here at the university. And Sheila's going to jump in any time that we need to. Now we're going to talk about freshman seminar. And Austin, freshman seminar is a 1 credit hour course that all students must take. Now our typical population here are going to be the 18-year-olds coming in, and so that is often everybody just takes freshman seminar. There are going to be some students who might transfer in that there's a different way to approach that. But basically, all students are going to take a 1 credit hour freshman seminar course, and that helps with the transition to the university. So they have one person that they meet every week, as well as 23 other people in there that are probably in the same boat. They're probably 18-year-olds living on campus. And so they walk through what's going to be going on through the semester and how to acclimate to the university. So that's an important retention tool for students, and we'll be very brief with that. Then we're going to talk about general education. And so how I like to navigate this is if we go to academics and then go down to general education. Yep. And I am skipping around just a little bit here, so I'm going to apologize already. But in your packet, we have, Sheila, if you want to go to the top bullet, general education at the university takes a look at some core key components that we feel are very important. And if you X out of that, Sheila, out of the PowerPoint, what we have across the top of this sortable list shows several of the different areas, all the areas that are required in general education. So we have a requirement for cultural enrichment activities. A component of cultural enrichment or social awareness would be a global consciousness course or a component of a course. Race, ethnicity, and gender is another component of either cultural enrichment or social awareness. Every student must take at least one, usually 2 science courses for an associate and a bachelor's degree. Social foundation, there's different components for associate and bachelor's degree. And then a writing or communication competency is what's included in general education. So this is a sortable list, and this was created so that students would be able to see the varied types of courses that are available to meet these components. Now, we also have a different way of looking at general education, and so Sheila, if you can go back, and then in your package you also have this handy-dandy colored diagram that shows the overlap of when we just were talking about global consciousness and social awareness courses, courses that meet requirements. That should be right there. And
Want to laminate those, Austin? Those
yeah,
are like
go ahead and
prices.
click on, yeah, that's good.
That one, yeah.
Yeah, I think that'll work. I think we're in the right area. Oh, it's not happy.
Didn't like that one.
Okay. We are going through a transition right now of general education. There we go. Margaret, are you familiar with this matrix? I know you work with graduate students, so it's...
No, I'm not, but I pulled up the link.
Okay. Yeah, so this is really great for advisors when you're looking at when they intersect. That means that it could be a double or triple hit on one course. So students who in some areas, they just want to take the course that they're going to get the most for their buck and maybe not experiment with 2 or 3 courses. That's the value of this. And so we review this every year to see if there are courses that have been added or courses that may have been removed from this. So this is a really, really great tool.
I have that hanging up on my bulletin board. I love it. It's always
Yes.
good to get it. Yeah.
Yep. Susan's saying laminated. I have it on a plastic sheet. Alrighty, we're going to take a look at then back, if we go back, Sheila, and look at course placement guidelines. And so this course placement guideline, Ferris didn't used to take SAT scores, but we got going with and found that we were being much more global, much more encompassing, and that, Sheila, yep, in the advising guide. Yep, and go down, yep.
I was on the right track.
And then, let's see, course placement guidelines. Isn't that terrible? I practiced this last night too. I think it's under academic counseling and academic support. Yep, right there. Click on that. And does it say course placement guidelines? I am blanking out there just a little bit. So I am, that's awful. But for those who are here in the room, we do have, for undergraduate students, the ACT, SAT course placement guidelines. And this is how students, when they come in, especially for that first semester registration, they are going to use this as part of the guidelines. I'm sorry, Sheila. There it is. It's right, yep, right there, under financial, above, there you go.
It's under
Tools. So this is a real key piece, especially if you're going to work summer orientation registration sometime, Austin. Gary might be doing that now for you. But even the second semester, if somebody hasn't taken one of the core courses, then you would be looking at this guideline to help them with the appropriate course placement for academic success. Next, I have the, Sheila, if we want to go to academics, yep, and then go down to academic affairs, and then we're going to go across the top to forms and policies and the policy letters. The university has a lot of support for faculty, advisors, and administration to be able to say, yes, we have a foundation of why students need to do this. So Sheila has found the general education transfer policy. And so this is for macro, is not used a lot at the university, but when we do need to use it, it's a financial saving for transfer students. So I'm guessing, Austin, that there may have been some transfer students in heavy equipment right now. And if they were at a community college, there would have been courses there that they were suggested to take that would transfer seamlessly to Ferris. And if they're working on a bachelor's degree, this macro agreement would be an agreement between the university and the community college about maybe being very concise with the courses that they have to take. So not many students use this, but where macro is used, it is a cost saving and a degree, time to degree saving area. It'll be more important in the College of Engineering Technology. So we'll just leave it there as an option. Alrighty, CLEP and course proficiency. And with CLEP and course proficiency, that's another way for students to save time to degree and save money. And college level entry proficiency, or CLEP, is, and I think, Sheila, if you go back to the advising guide, yeah, and that would go across Ferris resources. Yeah. Yep, the advising. No, you're doing great. It'll be the second bullet down, credit by examination. And it should say over to the right-hand side, CLEP. Yeah, we're just going to click on that real quick. This is another one of those things that when students come, apply to the university, and if they have a 24 or higher in a subject area within the ACT profile, that means that they have a body of knowledge that can get them to a higher level of a course. So if they had a 24 in English, they would be able to take a CLEP exam in high school, they would be able to test out of English in that case. CLEP would be some of the courses that are on the side that they may have taken in high school where they could be awarded credit based on successful knowledge that's been tested. So that's something that we're always hoping a student who has taken classes in high school has gained some proficiency and can test out of that. And they're
in Spanish, for instance.
for Spanish, absolutely. There's advanced placement. There's all kinds of things if students are successful in high school with mastering knowledge. So that's just one piece to take a look at.
I think you can see now why in our college we want to have one spot. As you see me click around, and because I have all mine in one spot now, I don't use these tabs much anymore. So yeah.
And that's really the key, is that we've got this packet of information, but to put it in one shell would be an easier way to do that. And then the next one is the academic policy letter, academic probation. And so we're going to go back to academic affairs. Yeah. And it's kind of a downer to talk about academic probation, but it is a fact that sometimes that transition from high school to college or post-secondary education can be a challenge. So we're always trying to encourage students to be mindful that they have to get the 2-point, because there are some repercussions if they don't. And the university could academically dismiss someone if they are on 2 probationary periods back to back. And so later on in our presentation, we're going to talk about some student support options that are out there to help students who find themselves on academic probation or are having some difficulty. All righty, we're going to go next then to looking at appointment number 2, and that's called Foundational Strategies for Advising. Okay.
Because one thing we do want to add to appointment 1 in stress is that each college has a different culture. Your college is different than my college, is different than the other college, and they're all very unique. So during that first appointment, I think it's going to be very important to talk to that mentee or that new advisor and say, you know, you may hear across the street, because that's what I always say, across the street, they may be doing it this way, but that's unique for their college. This is what we need to do. So that becomes very problematic, I found, with new advisors when they come to me and they'll say, I'm on their, their tenure chair or whatever, they go, I'm advising these students and my friend is over in arts and sciences and they do this. And I go, well, we don't do that. Well, why not? Well, that doesn't fit with our students. It isn't our culture. So I think we really need to stress that and make sure that they understand what our culture is, and not just because the neighbors are doing it doesn't mean you have to do it type of thing. Okay? Or sometimes we actually get some good ideas from that. Somebody will say, hey, my friend from Arts and Science is doing this. Why aren't we doing that? You know what? That's a good idea. Maybe we should implement that. So it's not always bad, but it's just that we have to know our culture.
Yeah, it's a really good point, and why having a mentor within your college is a better idea than, well, we do it this way here and we do it that way there. But sometimes we can't always help having different systems of mentoring. All righty. Appointment number 2 then. We're going to talk about the Family Educational and Privacy Act. And we have a reference sheet in your packet. And sure. Sure. Margaret, you're familiar with FERPA, right?
Yep.
Yep. And this is another one of those sheets that I keep close to my phone. So if I have a parent or somebody else that typically will call and want more information than perhaps what I think they can have. And so by being able to dissect the question, I'm able to look down the directory information topic and then look to see who that information can be released to. In fact, I know we are looking at our clock here and wondering, can we get through everything today? But I have a student that I've been working with who has given me permission to be able to share some of her banner information and my degree information. So I have that. I brought it so if anybody wondered, because it hasn't been put on comments yet, that I can show her record to others. But the FERPA really does help us to guide us with what we can reveal and what we can't, and then that delicate balance when you're trying to talk to a parent or someone else who wants information that they really cannot have access to. Students do sign a form when they first come here to the university. It's kept here in the records office and it's kept online saying what level of information can be given out. So if the student signs off and says my parents can have access to my billing information, my tuition, a number of different things, they can sign off on that. And then the transparency is there.
If you're not sure, just take their number and say, I will be happy to call you back. It's better than saying something wrong on the phone. And I tell my new advisors that. Take the number and say, I will call you back. When's a convenient time? If you can.
That
if you
is
don't know.
always. So if you can't find your FERPA sheet or you can't find it online, it's okay. In Austin, I'd use the new card as long as you can.
Yeah.
Because the people on the other end of the line are not going to know,
No.
and you can
I've been here 20 years, I'm still using it.
yes,
Just saying.
just say, yeah. They've changed some things. Let me get back to you. Yeah, and then you can consult with others about that, or other things too. Up here on the slide also are taking a look at more of the balance, class loads, and schedules, and that's going to be different for each college because in health professions, you guys are so lab heavy that what is balanced may seem off kilter for someone in arts and sciences with maybe 12 credit hours. So that would be more of a cultural thing to consider.
Don't let the students railroad you as a new advisor by saying, I can only take classes between the hours of 10 and 2, or only after 2, or whatever. Sometimes you try to get the best schedule you can for them, but they can't always get that, obviously.
All right, we'll move along then to the next shelf. What I'd like to talk about here is dropping or adding classes, and mainly dropping, because most students, once the semester is started, can only add the first 4 days of classes. After that, it really takes kind of an act of God to get something, but it does happen, but we don't tell students that because we want them to be prepared rather than behind the 8 ball. So in your packet is a form mainly used, I believe, Margaret, by the undergraduate folks, but it's called Stop Before You Drop. And this is indicating for many different types of students here at the university, they really can't drop below 12 credit hours and lose that full-time status because there could be dire implications. So what's a dire implication, Sheila? What would be one that you wouldn't?
Well, for us, it's that you're in that step lock program. And if you drop a class, it may be a prerequisite for your next semester, or there's no room to fit it in prior to going to internship. Yeah, we joke around with stop, drop, and roll rule instead of the stop before you drop, just like a fire. Because if you stop and you drop it, you're going to end up rolling downhill fast. So that's our little joke that we say. Yeah.
But there are so many implications now for financial aid progress that you really, when it comes to the financial aid piece, I refer them right here to the financial aid office. They can call, they can walk in, because that's something that...
I don't allow anyone to drop without saying, have you talked to financial aid? And if they say no, I go talk to financial aid first. Yeah.
But we have athletes, we have international students. There are a number of things that they really need to be aware of before they get rid of the class that they want so desperately probably to delete. Alrighty, so next, repeating courses. There is an academic affairs policy letter, and that repeat course is under academic affairs policy letters. And basically it tells, yep, they have a copy? Yep, so we won't go up here and look at it online. But students do have the ability to repeat a course 3 times without penalty. Now, repeating is not usually financial aid friendly. It might be once, but after a while, repeating courses several times, different courses, is not going to lead to financial aid health or to academic progress and graduating.
And they also need to be aware that in many programs, and you might have that in your program, you can't repeat a class 3 times. It may be once. It may be maybe twice you could repeat it, but most of the time it's you take it once, you don't pass it the second time, you're not going to be in that program any longer. Or you have to wait 5 years to come back. We have a bunch of those in health professions now. That's 5 years you have to wait.
Justin, on the odd chance, Austin, I'm sorry, on the odd chance that you had a student who decided heavy equipment wasn't for him because the math wasn't working and decided he wanted to do respiratory care, if he's taken math 110 3 times, it's not going to happen. So just be aware that those repeating classes, especially with allied health, they have put the hammer down.
Yeah.
There are some.
It's just setting them up for failure rather than success in those fields, and that's putting it bluntly. But you know, if you can't do math, how are you going to figure out a patient dose? You know, that's not a good thing. Yeah.
Thank you, health professions, for taking that stance. It's the truth.
Yeah, I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
I remember you.
Yeah. The next slide up here in the PowerPoint talks about withdrawing from a university. There are guidelines for a total withdrawal, and we have those published each semester, so you can find that out. We can also, the slide here shows medical and maybe administrative withdrawals. For issues with medical withdrawals, the best thing to do there is send the student to Burkham Health Center, because that's where the medical office is to make those kinds of decisions about if the student, the things the student needs to know about leaving the university with a medical withdrawal and returning with being healthy enough to return and not be a jeopardy to other people. And then the last icon here on the PowerPoint is talking about summer school, and that's really a whole different beast. That we have accelerated semester during the summer, but the university is really trying to push now that students consider summer, because if you can't find a summer job, what are you doing at home? Why don't you take classes to get going? So the sooner you graduate, the sooner you're probably going to make money and reduce debt by not stretching it out for so many semesters.
In many programs, they are mandatory. That's why the mandatory is there. Some of our allied health programs, nursing program, et cetera, you have to go summer. It's built in to be an accelerated bachelor's, and you go summers. And I'm sure there's other programs across campus that are that way too. Yeah.
All righty. We talked a little bit about additional sources of credit, but that's the next form in here also that I spoke about it but didn't have the handout right there for you to take a look at. So we have the CLEP, we have AP, we have some high school programs that work with concurrent enrollment, dual enrollment, and then articulated credit, and they all have their different nuances. But this is more for you to know about that there are some options why high school students could be bringing in credit that we never had experience with ourselves. So Sheila's going to talk about.
Yes, just some common advising mistakes that might be out there, things that we want to do. I don't know if you can read this, a little fuzzy, but here's the counselor or the advisor saying, before we begin, let me just say I don't want to hear about any problems or difficulties you've been having. I don't want to hear any excuses or extenuating circumstances. The only thing I want to hear is what you're doing about it. What's your plan to resolve the situation? My plan was to come here and have you tell me what to do. You need a new plan, type thing. So, that goes back to what we were talking about in that icebreaker, that those things happen. But as a new advisor, what do you really need to know? We have a sheet in there, and that's kind of a nice guideline for that second appointment when you're talking to them. But some common advising mistakes, you also have a handout. And, again, students often believe the advisor will tell them everything that they need to do. We need to put that accountability back on the student. They need to know what they need, because they make the mistake of often not reading their check sheets. I have this happen all the time. We have a group advising session at the very beginning of their professional sequence. We give them a handbook. It's got the checkbook in there. They sign a form. It says, I have read everything in my handbook. And then they'll go, I've never seen the check sheet before, type of thing. So we go over and over and over it, but they still forget. Or they don't bring it with them, or so they keep printing off a new one every time, and they don't transfer over the right information from time to time. I use my degree a lot. I know a lot of other advisors do that, so that's readily available both for the student and for the advisor to follow. They are not attending to the courses or gen ed requirements during registration. In other words, they don't know, as Deb went over, does this meet my global consciousness? Or they take 3 psychology classes, and they can't have all 3 being the same in their social awareness. And they go, I didn't know that. And so again, they're not aware of what's going on when they're selecting those. They aren't researching their course choices. This is a big one for us. They want to take human sexuality, 2 credits. Well, they need 9 total credits in that category in order to graduate, and they'd understand, well, I have 8, I've took 3 classes. Well, it's not 3 classes, it's 9 credits, but I wanted to take that class. Well, that's great. Take it as an extra later on, but not initially. Get those foundation courses down and then add to them. They don't know how their GPA is calculated. So all of a sudden they go, I don't understand how I have a cumulative of 1.97. How did that happen? I was just looking at my main courses. You mean those social awareness courses count? And they don't understand that sometimes, and they don't know how to calculate it. So I show them the GPA calculator so they can plug things in.
That can be especially effective with midterm grades.
Yes.
If you go through all your advisees' midterm grades, call them in if they're struggling, and take a look at what they need to do to get to a 2 point so they don't get academically dismissed or put on probation. And the other thing is, explain to them that 4 credit classes, that's where they want their focus.
Yes.
Because it's going to weigh more heavily on the GPA. They just really don't know.
Yeah. Balance out your load. Don't take your physics, chemistry, and math in the same semester. Some students just can't handle that. If they can, that's great. And some people are very good about balancing those, but others, no. You can't take an anatomic type class and a math class in the same semester. I need to focus just on anatomy, and then next time all math-based courses. So that happens a lot too. They don't seek academic or personal help until it's too late. I always have students coming to me the exam week going, can I do anything for extra credit? Because I noticed that my grade isn't what it should be. Well, why weren't you coming to my office hours all semester? I keep encouraging you to. I go, I'm lonely during office hours, come visit me. I tell them that all the time. And some of them come, they're just like clockwork. It's like take a number outside my door, there's the same 3-4 people, they're always waiting, and then others I don't see at all, and they're the ones that need it. Those are my A students that are standing out there. So, it's too late. Or they register too late to get the classes they need, and this is especially important in probably any of us that have the stop, lock programs or step lock programs, is that if you don't take them in the order you need them, you're in trouble. And I'm sorry, physics is not necessarily going to open up more physics courses just because you need a spot. because you didn't register until too late. We know there's times that students have extenuating circumstances. They get dropped because of non-payment. It's something that they can't help. They're trying, and then we're trying to get them back in. But you can understand those. But when they just go, oh yeah, I totally forgot that I was supposed to register 5 weeks ago, type of thing. They often fail to resolve their I grades within a time limit. And so if they do have an I, make sure I always write a contract with them. And
What's an I grade?
that is basically incomplete. You have to complete at least 70% of the coursework in order to get that. But many students think, well, I finished 70, but now I'm not doing so well, so can I have an I grade? No, it doesn't work that way. But if you do give them an I grade because of extenuating circumstances, make sure they understand what your expectations are.
But those will automatically convert to an F.
They will, yeah. And the last one I love is students often choose courses on the advice of a friend. You know, I teach a face-to-face Epi and Stats class, and I'll have somebody in there, and the first week they go, oh, I really like you as a teacher, and my friend has the online, and they hate it, so I advised her to come talk to you to see if you can fit her in. You know, we get those type of things a lot. Or don't take that professor because he's really hard. You know, but as we know, every personality is different. So, and rate my professor, we don't even want to go there. Okay, so common mistakes made by advisors are encouraging your students to enroll in too many hours or helping them develop what are called toxic schedules. It's that you're giving them expectations that they can't meet. And you're setting them up for failure instead of success, and we don't want to do that, obviously. Some students really want to. They say, my dad tells me I have to take at least 18 credit hours every semester, and it's like, can you handle 18? No, I'm working a job too, because he says I have to work. Well, I think 18 is too heavy for you. Let's scale back. I'll write a letter to your dad if I have to, you know, type of thing. I'll write him an excuse. Allowing to repeat courses in which they earn low grades. You don't really, if that class doesn't, if their GPA is still okay, and they don't need to repeat, let's say they got a C, but they just don't want to have a C on their transcript, but it doesn't matter for their program if it's a C or not, as long as their GPA is okay, I don't have them repeat it. Now I know there's some programs that they need to, for maybe pre-farm, pre-op, they need to get that higher GPA for entry, but for most of us, you know, a C is okay. That's our standard. And I know they wanted better. But why repeat a course and pay all that money when most of them, in a lot of our programs, like they just want to see that they got the degree and they passed a board exam or they got a certificate. They don't look at their transcripts per se. Okay, so we don't worry about that, at least in my college, so much. Weak backgrounds into advanced classes, that's a tough one. You know, if they go, man, I didn't have chemistry in high school at all. Well, I think you can jump right into 214 or whatever, you know, that would just be a terrible mistake to do for them. So don't do that. Taking all their core curriculum courses first, that sometimes is a mistake. Why do you guys think that's a mistake?
Because they need those to balance when they get into the higher level courses. Austin and I were just talking
Yeah.
about that you
Yeah.
want to save a cultural enrichment or save a social awareness class to give some balance.
Exactly, sprinkle it in. I tell my students, college is also about learning something that's for you. And that's what those cultural and social should be, are things that they want to learn about. You know, I've always loved psychology. I want to take an abnormal psychology class. Then yeah, you should take it because they're geeked and they're excited about it. So take those. Or I always wanted to take a drawing class. Then take drawing. That's going to be relaxing compared to, you know, all this heavy math and science that you have. So yeah, sprinkle them in. Let them learn some things they want to. Avoid speaking to a student who continues in a major despite repeated failures. Don't avoid those students. You need to have that heart-to-heart with them. Say, why are you in this program? Do you really love this? Do you have a passion for it? And if they go, not really, and that's why they're failing, because they don't have a passion for it. So we don't want to do that. Focusing on the task and the check sheet, not on the student. We already talked about that. How you doing today? How you feeling? You know, how's classes going? You know, how's that new puppy that you told me about last time? Something. I jot down little notes about them if I don't know them very well. So if somebody came in to see me to talk about coming into my program, I know they're going to apply, I jot down where they're from, a little bit about them, and they are so happy when I say, how's that new puppy? Oh, you remembered I had a new puppy? Yeah, you know, how's it going? And that just that's that sense of community and that connection that you get. And asking too many questions, says of veteran advisors and department chairs, you don't want to keep bugging your department chair constantly about every little question. That's why this program is going to work so well. Yeah, so I know I went long there, but.
Oh, that was great, though. Thanks, Sheila. Then we're going to talk about now some of the tricks and tips of working with transfer students, and also talk about at the same time, whether it's transfer students or regular students, is looking at some of the technology that's out there. So in your packet, we have Advising 101, and this handout talks about becoming familiar with Banner and with other tools that are available for us to work with students. And so with MyFSU or Banner, working with transfer students, you're going to look at the transfer credits that the student has and the way to navigate that in order to help a student develop a good advising schedule and not repeat anything that an advisor may wonder, well, you took that, but I don't know if you got credit for it. Well, there's definitely ways in Banner, our student information system, to help students understand what they need to do. So the academic transcript is also within Banner. There's holds and removing academic holds for students once they see you, and that's more of a college-specific way of looking at things. Banner also helps us to take a look at the general education requirements that are specific in there, and other resources in Banner to help you be a better advisor. With transfer students also then, if Sheila, we can go to, are you familiar with the Michigan Transfer Network? Where to find that? Alrighty. Let's go to Ferris's homepage. Susan, do you use Michigan Transfer Network? All the time. Yep. Alrighty.
MichiganTransferNetwork.org. Oh, do you have it?
We didn't put it up here, so.
It's easier just to type it in. It's
Okay.
MichiganTransferNetwork.org. So this is a website that's hosted by Michigan State University, and all the, well, I say all, a huge majority of the Michigan colleges, community colleges, and four-year colleges and universities.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you.
Just load
Click
their
on that.
information
Yep.
in here, so we know if a student wants to take English 150 at a community college in the summer, we know what the transfer course equivalency is. Ferris also has those on their website.
We
but
do.
This is really easy.
This is really nice if you're talking to a student who said, I'd like to go to summer school, but maybe I'm going to take my math class at home. And so the way to navigate that would be, it says search by receiving institution.
If you put Ferris in there, Sheila.
Because, drop down, yep. Yep.
Math 115 is probably, or maybe Math
Math,
110 is
yep.
the easier one to catch.
MATH, yep. And then the course, you can put 115 if the student is saying if that's what's in your program. Is it Math 115?
Right, and then Sheila, hit search first, because that's going to give you all institutions. Hit the search button, and then
Yep.
it will populate transfer institution. You can either scroll that way, or you can go back to where you were and arrow down there and choose, let's just say the student wants to go to Macomb, under transferring institution.
Yep, on that right-hand side. You're doing great.
It's where you had that.
Yep, where it
before
says, yeah, you can do it that way. Sometimes students from the Detroit area will say, well, I could go to a number of places to get my Math 115 transferred back. But you can go more by specific college. There's a box up there. Or they can scroll down because, oh, my aunt lives in Lansing. I could stay with my aunt for the summer and I could take it there. And so this is a great resource. And Ferris does have a great system. This is just so comprehensive that it really works very nicely. So when you're working with a transfer student or somebody who wants to be a guest student somewhere else during the summer, it works great.
Comments are nice too, that's helpful.
So that's one aspect of helping transfer students reach their academic goals. Sure, go ahead.
As well as transfer students, we're just going to just very briefly talk about international students because that's a total different ballgame. We have, of course, special needs depending on which country they're coming from, the number of credit hours that they have to take, how many of those credit hours can be online, because I, for instance, have Saudi Arabian students that they cannot take any more than 12 credits online. They can be mixed delivery, they can be face-to-face, but no more than 12 online. And if they take more than 12 online, when they get back to their home country, they are not able to work because they feel that the degree is not legitimate because of that. And they said it doesn't matter if you give a letter or whatever. And sometimes it's very hard because our program, for instance, has 13 credits online with some of their internship classes and their medical terminology, and some of those are only offered online. So we are right now working with them trying to figure out what we can do to help them show that this is a legitimate degree with 13 online credits. So just take note of that if you're working with international students, that they do have special circumstances regarding their financial aid, et cetera, and how they're funded. Some of them do have to pay out of pocket if they do more than they're supposed to do. So we really keep them very in line with the exact number and make sure that they're getting those right courses that they need.
Great. Alrighty. We're going to move the PowerPoint along. And do you want to talk a little another time? Alrighty. We're going to move to then to student issues and referrals. And in your packet, you have Student Services Support Guide. And with that guide, this is really comprehensive. And if you would like copies of this, it is online. You just have to Google it on Ferris's homepage, and you can print these off. I have a stack of these in my office, and we have new students that come in, especially since our office works with disability students who often are coming to the university to see, is this a good place for them and what kind of services? And I give this to them because it's comprehensive and talks about things like the Structured Learning Assistance Program. So SLA, as we like to call it, is a type of support for a student who says, I'm going to have trouble in anatomy and physiology or medical terminology. Can I get tutoring for that? And I'm like, yeah, you can get tutoring. We do have a academic support center, but might be better is to take an SLA of medical terminology because they build the tutor into it. And we have a great success record with it, don't we, Susan, with SLA courses. And we monitor them always to see what's working, what isn't working, and try to do a self-correction. So that's one referral. And let's see what else.
It's great for those students too that they think they can do really well and they find that they're not, then I'm glad I'm in that SLA course now.
It's a safety net. Some other issues are that a student might find themselves in a situation where if they're lonely, uncomfortable, something's gone on with mom and dad, whatever, we do have a counseling center. It's a personal counseling center here on campus, and that's located in Burkham Health Center. So that's a good resource for students when, as an advisor, you may not be comfortable always talking about those things, but you got a great resource. Yes, Margaret?
On the previous slide, you mentioned something, the resources online. Where was that located?
I think the easiest way to find it would probably be to Google Ferris's website and put Student Support Services Guide.
Okay.
Because I'd have to give you a number of steps, and it should come up. And it'll have kind of a turquoise blue cover with Mr. Ferris on the front of that. Okay. For students who find themselves on academic probation, the colleges refer students over to our area on the third floor Star Educational Career Counseling Center for a program called Strategies for Your Educational Success. And actually Marie Yautz, who's with us here today, is the person that oversees that program. So we're looking to help students get off probation, and we have Marie, do you want to give them a 1-minute overview of strategies?
Sure. We talk about their learning styles, and we talk about, there's a couple of assessments that we give them, and they self-report. Maybe if they've had trouble with concentration, focus, roommate issues. Essentially, we just meet with them one-on-one as counselors and try to see what was contributing to the difficulty in meeting academic goals and reaching goals.
Great. And we find great success with that. Students with disabilities, I mentioned that just a minute ago. Many times students come to the university knowing that they have a disability and that they need some assistance. Some students wait to tell somebody that they need some help or wait to get to find where an office is. So if for some reason a student says to you, I had ADHD and I was in heavy equipment classes in high school at the Career Center and I got extended test time, boy, I need some help. You can direct them whether if they say something to you, or if you have any concerns, give us a call because our office is here to help instructors also. Alrighty. Sheila talked about international students. Yeah. And let's see, what's another student issue that might be next on our PowerPoint? Career decision making. Our office, we're really getting a lot of PR here today. Also in this brochure, we provide career counseling for the university. So if you're working with a student and they're not quite sure if the major is right, or maybe they just want to double check, we have career assessments that will assist the student. It doesn't tell them what to do, but through the counselors in our office, we guide them to try and help them get to know themselves a little bit better. We also have all the resources we've talked about today are all free, including the Writing Center. And the Writing Center is located in the same room as the Academic Support Center where tutoring takes place. We also provide assistance for students who are at a distance and need help with their writing. They may be at the Midland campus or Dowagiac or other places, so there's a way to help students at a distance with writing also. Then, when we get to appointment number 6 with the college-specific information, that's where Sheila, Tammy are working on how to design the information that those folks need to support them. Appointment 7 is really left up for the mentor and the mentee to decide, or in the case maybe during the summer as we refine some of this, Tammy and Sheila could come up with some other
Or if you have
options.
suggestions, please jot them down. That would be great for us to add that in.
I think a really good thing for appointment 7 would be role-playing, just to kind of bring everything together and have the mentor asked to be advised, the master mentor, yeah.
The other piece that you brought up, Sheila, was, and we didn't bring that in, about the importance of taking notes so that you can recall what the last appointment was all about. We do that in our office, the counseling office, the Educational Counseling and Disability Services. So it's second nature for us, but for advisors to say, well, remember we did talk about this.
Document, document, document. That's what you can say.
I had 41 pages of notes from fall semester about advices in their paragraph each. I see some of them 2 or 3 times if they're struggling, but those notes are invaluable. Like Sheila's puppy example, it really does help you connect, because with 30 students, that's a lot.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
A couple of things that I skipped over. MapWorks. And Margaret, I know we talked about MapWorks perhaps for the College of Pharmacy. Right now, MapWorks is primarily used for undergraduate students. It's administered in the freshman seminar course. And what it does is it asks students a variety of questions to see how they're doing. And then we get a report back. And I'm not sure how each college is using that information or how they get it, but the advisor or the FSUS instructor would get the report. Because sometimes when you're talking to a student, how many times have we talked to a student that, well, I'm doing fine? And then the MapWorks reveals, oh no, they're homesick. They're worried about their finances. And so having a report about your students that you can talk to really see, well, let's talk to financial aid. You know, what are some other options that we can provide? So MapWorks definitely is alive and well, and the College of Pharmacy, whom Margaret works with, there's some options there for them to work with MapWorks with Shelley Van de Pan. Also, Sheila talked about My Degree. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I can if you want. I know that this is from the College of Arts and Sciences, and this is kind of their how-to booklet, right? So this is great because you can follow. It doesn't matter if you're arts and science or not. You can still follow what they've put in here. So it's a great guide for you. My Degree is probably underutilized, I would say, by many advisors. Students are able to look on My Degree, and have all of you used it before for your students. My Degree is wonderful because the students can go to it, they can see exactly what classes they've taken, where they fit into the right categories. They also are able to see what they should take next. Within that My Degree, you as an advisor, you can actually set up a plan for them for the whole time that they're at Ferris. What courses they should take in which semester, which is a wonderful tool. That way it makes you both accountable, it makes the student accountable, it makes you accountable. Because if you say, they go, you didn't tell me to take that. And you go, I'm sure I did. And you look back and it's like, no, I did not tell him to take that. It is my fault, type of thing. So it makes both parties accountable, is why I like it. You can put comments in it. It's just a nice tool. They scribe them constantly. If you have anything you need substituted or changed, if you just get hold of the right personnel, let your department know, and they will make sure that they scribe those correctly. But it is a wonderful tool. It would take hours and hours to go through the whole thing. But if you ever have questions about it, there's lots of people on campus that use it, and I would encourage you to start utilizing that.
We offer My Degree training in the fall. We needed to provide more My Degree training for the spring semester. This is primarily something that's used by the undergraduate colleges because there's so many students that change their major. Statistically speaking, 80 to 85% of all students change their major once. And My Degree gives students an option to do a what if. What if I changed from English education to heavy equipment? What would that look like? And I've been here a year. It would tell them. It doesn't substitute for one-on-one advising, but it's really nice for advisors even to sit down and say, well, what about a minor? How would that fit in? Exactly. So this is a great resource, and so this is in your packet, and it's also available online.
Also helps them understand if they've met the global consciousness and the race, ethnicity, and gender requirements too, which is great. One of the things with appointments, I'm sorry, that I would love some feedback on is what do you think about for timing for these appointments? Is this the 7 appointments? Do you do these on a weekly basis? Do you go bi-weekly? Because sometimes you just get thrown in, and some of this information would be good to have before registration starts. So is it that first half of the semester when they start? Would it be better? That's what I'm thinking too, but because when we make that recommendation, we'll have a time frame, a template for people to follow. Okay, great.
Well, actually, we have concluded what we hope to share with you today. Margaret or anybody, any comments or something you'd like to talk about as we start to draw this to a close?
No, I don't have anything.
Okay.
When you have create electronic records for students here, did you mainly mean My Degree?
Yes.
Okay.
But we also have our check sheets, our the progression policies, those type of things too. But as far as for what we follow, we're going to plan on really using the My Degree and utilize it a lot. So,
Okay.
Yep.
Now, the next slide here talks about a deliverable for PDI. So what does that mean? PDI stands for Professional Development Incentives. And the advising seminar series still includes 6 seminars. And in order to get incentive money, which I did not bring a brochure with me to give those details, but the Faculty Center for Teaching and Learning has provided money for people who attended 5 of the 6 seminars. And of those 5 seminars they attended, you must do 4 deliverables. And a deliverable is homework. So in your packet, and you can go, we are allowing folks who have come to some of the seminars but couldn't maybe get to that 5th seminar to go online and listen to the recorded session. So Austin, you wouldn't be eligible for the PDI money for this, but Susan, I think you've attended several, so you may be eligible.
All of them, yeah, the one I presented at. So.
Yeah, so this would be the PDI. So the deliverable or the homework for this session says, using the 7 appointment format, list what you would discuss with a new advisor at each of the appointments. And this would be the mentor-mentee relationship. And it was be specific to your college, and then return this to me, and then we'll make sure that you get.
I put both, but yeah.
Yeah,
give it to Deb.
yeah, but either one. We just want to make sure that we get the information to Todd Stanislav's office, which awards the professional development incentive money. And Austin's, there are many other PDI money activities or incentives out there through the Faculty Center.
You can use those monies for attending meetings, for equipment. You could buy a laptop for yourself. You could, I mean, there's lots of things that you could do with it.